chained in a church. King Henry wanted to break the power of the priests and turn the people away from their teachings. One day the thought came to Cromwell that a large Bible should be placed in every church where the people who could not read could listen while an educated person read the scriptures in English. He decided that this might cause the people to turn away from the priests. Cromwell left his chair and walked over to the window. As he looked down on the crowds in the street below, he said, "What is needed is a Bible that can be easily read to these people. A Bible printed with large, clear letters. With a great Bible in every church and cathedral in England, those who cannot read will hear it read. I shall write a letter to every priest and bishop in our realm, telling them of the plan, and it shall be sealed with the king's seal." Cromwell sat down at his desk, dipped his quill pen, and began to write. "To all the bishops and priests in England, you shall provide one book of the whole Bible of the largest volume in English, and the same set up in some convenient place within the said church that you have care of, whereas your parishioners may most commodiously resort to the same and read it." Calling his scribe, Cromwell handed him the letter and said, "Make copies of this and send them out at once. We shall have a great Bible printed, and copies shall be chained in every church." Cromwell called Miles Coverdale to come to his office. "I want an edition of fine Bibles printed," Cromwell said. "Big, elegant Bibles, printed on the finest paper we can find, and in the very best style. In the front, I wish a picture that will praise His Majesty the King. Where can this best be done?" Coverdale answered, "Printer Grafton, a friend of mine, can answer this best. Let us talk with him." When Grafton was consulted, he said, "The finest printing presses are in France. That of Renault in Paris, is the best in the land. We shall have the Bibles printed there," Cromwell ordered. "You shall both go there and work with the printers. I want this to be a great Bible, beautiful in every way, so that people will look upon it with respect." To have the printing done in France was not an easy task. In England, there was now freedom to print and read the Bible, but France knew no such freedom, for the country was controlled by the priests, who would allow no Bibles to be either printed or read. Finally, King Henry appealed to the King of France to allow the work to be done, and the French monarch promised that the Bible would be printed in Paris. In the spring of 1538, Coverdale and Grafton went to Paris, and the work was begun on the Great Bible, as it was called. The finest paper was used. The pages were 10 by 15 inches in size. It was to be a magnificent book. The English ambassador to France helped Coverdale and Grafton, but in spite of his assistant, the Englishmen were in danger. Coverdale wrote to Cromwell, "Your work of the Bible is going on, but we be daily threatened, and how they will use us we know not. We hope within a few months the work will draw to an end, and we can return to England with the finished Bibles." Soon Coverdale realized that the feeling against them was mounting. He went to the English ambassador and said, "Sir, we fear that harm is planned for the pages of the Great Bible that is being printed in the shop of Renault. Daily we are watched." King Henry himself asked that the work be done here. The ambassador answered, "Surely the King of France will protect and aid you." "Not so, sir," Coverdale answered. "I fear that not even the King of France can protect us against the scheming of the priests. They threaten our very lives." "And the Bible, sir," Grafton interrupted. "We fear that the beautiful pages printed on the finest paper found in all of France will come to harm." The ambassador shook his head. "I cannot help you. I have orders from King Henry to return to England, to take up work in London." "Sir," Grafton spoke eagerly, "as an ambassador you can take your luggage from this country without inspection. The pages that are already printed, let us bring to you. Take them with you to England and keep them safely until the book is finished. In England we will bind the books." The ambassador smiled. "You are right. My luggage will not be inspected. Bring the printed sheets to me and I will pack them with my belongings. If you think best, I shall keep them in London for you." Cromwell himself instructed that I allow no harm to come to the Great Bible. This will make it safe. Coverdale and Grafton hurried to the print shop of Renault and told him of their plans. Together they made the pages into bundles and took them to the home of the ambassador. A few days before Christmas, 1538, as much of the Bible as had been printed went to England for safekeeping. Coverdale wrote to Cromwell, "If these men proceed in their cruelness against us and confiscate the rest, yet this at least may be safe by means of your lordship." As the last sheets were being printed, the blow came. Coverdale and Grafton arrived at the shop one morning to find Renault frightened and excited. "I've just received notice to appear in court. I do not know what it means, but I fear for our work." "And we fear for your life," Coverdale answered. "We can only pray that God will protect you." When Renault returned from court, the soldiers were with him, and they took all the sheets that had been printed since the ambassador had left. Coverdale and Grafton fled to England. In a week, a printer came to London from France. "What happened to the paper and the printed sheets?" Coverdale asked eagerly. "They were all given to a soldier to burn. He was ordered to burn every sheet." Coverdale was deeply disappointed. He had hoped that some of the work might be saved. "But," the printer added, "it came to my ears that the soldier, as he was burning the sheets, was approached by a hatter who wanted paper to line the hats and caps he was making." The soldier, to make himself a little money and to save himself the bother of burning, sold 4 great baskets of sheets to the hatter. "I know where the hatter lives who bought them." "Sir, let us go with you, and perhaps we can buy again the sheets," urged Coverdale and Grafton. At once they crossed the English Channel and found the hatter, who was glad to sell them the baskets of paper for a better price than he had paid for them. Coverdale and Grafton, delighted to find enough sheets to complete several hundred copies of the book, took them to England. Coverdale talked with Cromwell about the Bibles, and soon the king joined in the plan to bring Renault, his presses, his type, and even his workmen to London. A shop was set up and the presses started. In April 1539, all the copies of the first edition of the Great Bible were completed. In the front of the Great Bible was a large drawing showing the marvelous things that had taken place in England. In the picture, King Henry was receiving the Bible from God. Below this was a picture of the king giving the Bible to Cromwell and to a priest. After this came a picture of Cromwell and the priest handing the Bibles out to the people, who were all shouting, "God save the king." Even little children were pictured joining in the celebration. Through the barred windows of a jail, the prisoners were shouting, "God save the king." Copies were put in each of the parishes where the people could come and read the Bible, or hear it read. In St. Paul's Church, where Cuthbert Tunstall had burned Tyndale's New Testament, 6 copies of the Great Bible were chained to pillars so people could come and read for themselves. Soon another printing of the Great Bible was made, and this edition had the words, "It was overseen and perused at the commandment of the King's Highness by the Right Reverend Fathers in God, Cuthbert, Bishop of Durham, and Nicholas, Bishop of Rochester." Cuthbert, Bishop of Durham, whose name appeared in the Bible, was the same Cuthbert Tunstall who had turned William Tyndale from his door in London, who had bought 1,000 copies of Tyndale's Bible to burn, and who had thrown a Bible into the flames from the pulpit in Paul's Cross. With Bishop Tunstall's name appearing as one who was overseeing the printing, and with the command that a Bible be chained in every church so that all could read, it seemed the battle was over. It was wonderful, a Christian author wrote, to see what joy this book of God was with what joy this book of God was received, not only among the learned sort and those who were noted lovers of the Reformation, but generally all England over among the common people, and with greediness God's word was read. But within a few years all had changed. King Henry took away the liberty for all to read the Bible. The Bibles of all but certain classes of people were sought out and burned. A law was made by the king declaring that the people could no longer read the Bible in the churches without special permission, that persons of rank and property, princes and wealthy people, might read the Bible within their own houses, but all others, particularly women, might not read, and that Tyndale's translations were no longer to be kept and used within the realm. Every book written by Tyndale was to be searched out and burned. The ban included Coverdale's first translation and Matthew's Bible, although the Great Bible was allowed to be read by the favored few.